Good evening, and welcome to the February 7th, 2018 legislative session of the Town Board. And I'll officially call the board, this board meeting to order. I'll ask that everyone that please rise for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. I'll ask our clerk to please call the roll.
Cole.
Here.
LaFountain.
Here.
Metzler.
Here.
Moore.
Here.
Quinn is absent.
Great, thank you. Tonight we're going to start with a short presentation from our Penfield Community Victory Garden. And I see Dot and Nancy are going to be the co-presenters. And we'd ask them to come up and give us a little rundown. This is something that they've done each year here over the last 8 or 9 years, most every year. Give us a little update of what's going on and, more importantly, what lies ahead. So,
thank you.
Absolutely.
Members of the community, town board, Supervisor LaFountain, welcome. Thank you for coming out tonight. We have some of our gardeners over here with us. I know the snow is kind of rough out there. But we're going to talk about a little bit of spring and a little bit of green for you right now.
So we're happy kind of giving a summary of our 2017 season. My name's Nancy Marr, and this is Dot Brannis. And let's see, we've been, what's 9 years now?
Yeah, 9 years.
It's kind of a long time. We had a great season this year. A little more rain than we did the previous season, which we went through a lot of water. This year we kind of had spurts of a lot of water. But we sold out all our beds, which was really fantastic. We had actually a waiting list, but we found some ways to squeeze them in. A couple gardeners who had 2 beds was willing to share 1 bed. So it was really terrific to have such a full garden, and everyone worked together. So we had a lot of new gardeners, a lot of new family. We had a lot of our standard ones that have come along. We'd like to thank the town and the DPW for all the maintenance work you guys do, all the support we have, mowing our lawns, fixing the driveway, which is great. Actually, this winter we've been able to get in and out of it, which is really fantastic. Usually we can get in, but we're no getting out, which is great. So thank you so much for taking care of that. And we thank the security that's been, during the summer, we have the security that comes in the evenings just to kind of watch over it and, you know, make sure there's no funny business going on. So it's really terrific, and we appreciate all the support that we get.
Keep the honest people honest.
Yes, yes. Dot's going to check a little bit about our community.
So we've had a couple of community partners this year again. Bauman's over on 5 Mile Line. They've been very generous, donating plants for programs at the garden, as well as donating their pumpkin and the mums for the Halloween party that we often do a raffle for. We've been doing that for a few years now, and that's always great. And Bracolo Garden Center, who has sponsored our parade float in the Independence Day Parade for, oh gosh, it's got to be almost 5 years now. They've been doing that with us, and it's a great partnership over there with Lori Bracolo and the people who work at that garden center, and as well as, you know, just sponsoring us, but also donating those plants, and those plants end up going into the children's garden program that I run there at the garden. The other thing that we'd like to say about participation with our community is that this year we again had a harvest program where we collect produce from gardeners at the garden on a weekly basis. We bring that to the Penfield Ecumenical Food Shelf on Wednesdays. That fresh produce that's brought there, the folks at the food shelf have let us know that their clients are so happy to get that homegrown, fresh produce from the garden all summer. And as long as we have harvest, that's when we're bringing it in. And we've brought, some weeks we're bringing like 25 pounds of tomatoes. I mean, there's just so much great produce that we donate. Additionally, we had Nazareth College Freshman Day of Service again this year come to our garden. And that's been going on for several years too. They bring a group of freshmen to the garden. They learn about what the community garden is about, and then they do a day of service. They remulched our trail. They generally take care of our trail there because we have like a little nature trail on the west side of our garden. I'm sorry, on the south side of our garden. Yeah. I lost my directions there. The other big thing that we did this year, which was new, is we had a tour at the garden, partnering with Rochester Civic Garden Center. We invited people from around the surrounding community, not just Penfield residents, to come on in and take a look at the community garden, and that was very successful, and the people loved it. We've also had 2 people come to our committee meetings to find out how to start a community garden. A gentleman from Waverly Woods came. That apartment complex has given him permission to start a community garden there, and a Webster resident who's been trying to get the town board at Webster to start a community garden. So we've kind of like planted a seed in the community to grow some more community gardens all around us, which is great because it's really important for a community to have a place where people can come together to work on something healthy like gardening. It's very healthy for our community. So we're a model for neighboring towns. And then additionally, we had a Boy Scout project this year. Again, we had some more raised beds put in. Almost our whole garden has raised beds. The great thing about raised beds is it makes it easier for weeding. It keeps the garden uniform. It allows us to standardize you know, the rows, because gardens can creep when they're not contained. So we were really happy to have Matt Soudin from 312 complete his Eagle project at our garden and add garden raised beds on the south side of our garden this year. So I'll let Nancy talk some more about the program.
In addition, Matt and the troop all got together after this was all done and surprised us with a fantastic bench. Which is really wonderful, and it's kind of nice right in the garden. So that was a little surprise for us. They said, we've left you a little surprise. We all ran over to see. It was beautiful, so it was a nice little treat for us, and they've done a great job. We have one more, hopefully, scout for this year coming up. We got to find one. We got another scout project. Any scout out there that needs one, we have the rest of the beds, and we've been very lucky that we've had a number of scouts that have done their projects at the garden. One thing I did want to mention is, as I said, that we sold out last year for all our raised beds, and the registration is open. You can go to the Penfield Rec Center to sign up. One bed that is 7 feet by 16 feet, which is one of the biggest beds that you can get anywhere in the community garden in these areas, is $35, and you can get up to 2 for $55. So they're really terrific, and these beds have been there now for 9 years, and there's lots of people who have done a lot of love, and there's been a lot of new soil added to it. So it's really terrific soil. So if anyone's interested, paying attention on watching this or here, it's a great garden. There's a good group of people. We do a number of activities. We start our season with a dinner. We end our season with a dinner. We have community work days, and it's a wonderful way to get to know some of your neighbors and to introduce your kids and family and friends to fresh veggies, which are great. And it's a good example of if you plant one zucchini, you can get rid of it. There's enough. So we have always kind of, well, all you need is one zucchini. So please keep that in mind. We do have some other programs that we've done. Well, we have the Webster Extended School Year program had a bed this year on 2017, and the students, preschoolers to high school, took advantage of that. They came every single week and took care of it and managed their bed and made weekly trips to the garden and seemed to have had a great time. And I remember going by and checking out, and they had pretty good produce this year. They had quite a few things that they were growing, and I think they had a lot of fun. The children's garden, Dot's children's garden that she's been running for all 9 years?
Yeah,
all 9 years. This year was 27 kids, and this is ages 5 through 12. And it's very popular, and what's really neat is the kids plant it, and they get to take home what they grow, which is really, really neat, and they get to prepare things and stuff. Our future plans, we have pretty much one of our wish lists now, and we're considering options to do this, is we would like a shelter built. You know, if you kind of look at the garden, we have those picnic tables. Having meetings on a rainy day sometimes is hard, so it'd be great to, one of our thoughts is potentially to work on finding a way to do a shelter. So that's things that we're going to start investigating. And let's see, what else do we have? Oh, our fence is 9 years old, so it is, it's
time to repair it.
It needs some repairs. We've maintained it quite a bit, but there's going to be sections that we're going to have to repair. Things trying to get in, things trying to get out after they've gotten in. So we've got a few things there. We do have a few other things. Dot has created a Twitter account, which we will be probably making available, or is it going to be for us, or?
Well, I'm managing it,
She's
and
managing
it's so that the people in the community, we're connected to Penfield Town and Penfield Recreation, so people in the community can, if they're on Penfield Town, they can see us there, they can jump on and find out more about the garden, but also for our members who might want to get their information that way. We're trying to find various ways to get information to our garden members, and people use all different platforms. So I think it's important for us to have access from all different platforms.
And we've discussed also doing a Facebook page as well. We have someone who's willing to put the work in, so now we have to just get it together. One thing that we do also have available, and it's open to the public, sponsored by the garden, Penfield Garden, is on March the 13th. It's a Tuesday in the Penfield Rec Center. We're having kind of a seed starting class. You can start some seeds. We'll provide all the materials that you need. You can make seed tapes, which are a lot of fun.
Well,
They work great, especially for the new gardeners. You get them all measured out, and so they don't have to worry about having them spaced. They just put it in, cover it with dirt, and pop up. So it's kind of nice. It's a lot of fun. We do a variety of different things. 2.5 hours. Everything's available. It should be listed.
it'll be listed in the brochure, but also on the rec department calendar
yeah.
too. It'll be in there.
And there's a bunch there. We have all the materials. We have all the seeds, and everyone. It's a great place, especially if you're in the garden. If you just need a few bean seeds, we have all kinds of stuff, and you can make little seed packets to take home for your garden to be ready for the next coming year.
Excellent.
Any questions?
I was just going to ask, for new gardeners or new to the community garden, they sign up to get a plot. Is there some instructions given to them, or kind of a how-to, or just what can a resident expect if they're new and they want to grab a plot for this year?
So new gardeners, they get a member handbook, with the general guidelines of how the garden works, We also run new gardener orientations. Last year, we tried to have them on site rather than in the recreation department, one of the rooms over there, because we felt like on site it would be better for them, because they could really see what we were talking about rather than just sit there at night with a PowerPoint. So that's something that we're also hoping to do again this year, to try to get them at the garden to see, here's how we do things. So there's a couple of different things we do, but yes, we have orientation for new gardeners to help them.
And in the past, we've had a couple new gardeners who couldn't make the orientation, and Dot or myself or anyone else that's either in the garden or on the committee, we always meet them there and help them out. We had a gardener who put all kinds of stuff in, and it just didn't make it, and a bunch of us showed up, and then 45 minutes later, she's like, "Oh my goodness, look how beautiful it is!" And
yeah, I mean,
all replanted. We're all there to help.
We all help each other, and the committee, and they're just a great group of people, are also always willing to reach out and help people when they're getting started too.
Right.
And you ask a gardener something, they're always willing to give you their opinion. So they all help each other. There's always, you go there and say you're going to be there for 5 minutes, and an hour later you're finally going, okay, I got to go. So everyone helps each other out. So it's quite nice.
So there's two gentlemen in the back. Fran, if you'd raise your hand. Ed, raise your hand. Those two gentlemen right there on our Trails Committee, both of them work with Scouts and looking for Eagle projects. So I heard you say early on that you might be looking for a Scout to do a project. Those are a couple of gentlemen that you want to stay connected with.
We know Fran.
We know Fran. He's a garden member.
All right, good. So very good. But as part of the Scout, piece, I know they report out at the Trails Committee on a monthly basis about that. Fran has taken over kind of the coordination, picked that up from Terry Smith, if I'm not mistaken. So I think he may have been absent one meeting, and he got nominated. So Fran, thank you for helping to coordinate that overall, but certainly stay connected with him for Scouts.
That'd be terrific, because there's the beds are most pressing last one, but we have a small list that we could easily pull from.
There you go.
There's quite a few Eagle projects that we could find homes for if any Eagle Scout wants to come in and say, how can I help? So.
Right.
Well, you're
Excellent.
speaking of a shelter, I mean, that's something Eagle Scouts are sometimes involved in. Depends
Yes,
on how
they
big you want
actually,
it.
I believe our shed was built by.
Our sheds were, yeah, Eagle projects. Yeah, the shelter would be similar to something not as big as what we see at Rothfuss Park, obviously, but, you know, that sort of covering with the 4-post pavilion type of shelter. It wouldn't be that large.
10 by 10, 10 by 12. Not
Yeah.
enough to get a small group underneath and,
Out of the weather.
Yeah, when it starts to rain.
yeah. And we're trying to do more at the garden if we're doing events. or
Programming.
bringing programs. It's nice to be able to go there on a hot day or a rainy day or just, you know, just to get under cover and keep, if you have paperwork and stuff, to be able to leave it there and then go into the garden. Because we're trying to, you know, reach out to the community and do some more things that way as well, so.
Good.
That's great.
All right.
Okay.
Good.
Thank
Thank you
you.
very much, as always, and to the other gardeners that are here joining us. And I see that you brought Mike along with you as well. He's,
Yes.
Dorothy and Mike do a lot in their backyard, who are 2 doors up from me, so I have an opportunity to see a lot of activities they do in their backyard. And my family are the recipients of milkweed and caterpillars to help the process that we have going with our granddaughters. So thank you for
Thank you.
that.
I'd also like to extend, this spring or this summer, why don't you guys consider?
Yeah, come on out
Let
and
us
take a
know,
walk.
we'll give you a tour, and you might find a new hobby.
There you go. Excellent.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Nancy. Thank you, Dot. Thank you very much. Okay, we will move into communications and announcements, and I'd recognize our town clerk, please.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. Full payments or first installments for the 2018 town and county tax bills are due this Saturday, February 10th. And since that due date falls on a weekend, payments will be processed by the tax receiver through Monday, February 12th. There's also, as a reminder, our drop box is available at the east side entrance of the town hall. Make sure when submitting that you have enclosed in an envelope a check payable to Margaret Revelle, tax receiver, along with a payment stub or a copy of your bill. Checks must be written in the exact amount, and cash will not be accepted as payment through the drop box. For additional information, you may call 340-8625 or go to the town's website at penfield.org. Also, voters seeking an absentee ballot for the February 27th Shadow Pines referendum must first obtain an absentee voting ballot application and submit it to the town clerk's office, which is located right here at 3100 Atlantic Avenue. The application may be downloaded from the town's website at penfield.org, and completed applications must be returned to the clerk's office by Tuesday, February 20th at 5 p.m. Absentee ballots are due by 5 p.m. on Tuesday, February 27th. And lastly, on Wednesday, this coming up Wednesday, February 14th, from noon to 6 p.m., the Board of Registration will be at the Town Hall to register persons who are not currently registered to vote and would like to vote in the special election that will be held on Tuesday, February 27th, relating to the acquisition of the former Shadow Pines Golf Course property. Any questions pertaining to registration may be directed to my office by calling 585-340-8629. And that's it.
Great, thank you. Mrs. Messler.
We've got 2 announcements this evening. First, in partnership with the Monroe County Sheriff's Office Zone A Crime Prevention Officer, I will again be offering and assisting with the Neighborhood Watch Program initiative for residents interested in starting a watch program in their neighborhood or through their homeowners association. This initiative is a great way to work with your neighbors to promote public safety and to prevent crime in our community. If anyone has an interest in their neighborhood, please contact me at metzler@penfield.org, and along with the Sheriff's Office, we can work together to create a Neighborhood Watch program in your area. Also, Just some tips for the cold weather. With cold or often freezing temperatures expected this month, the American Red Cross has some tips everyone can follow to make sure that your animal friends are safe from the bitter cold. Be sure to keep your household pets indoors as much as possible. If you cannot bring your animals inside, make sure they are protected. Also make sure they have access to unfrozen water. Salt and other chemicals used to melt snow and ice can irritate your pet's paws. Antifreeze is also deadly to animals. Wipe up any spills that occur and store antifreeze out of reach. Do you have cats that roam the neighborhood? They may look for warmth under the hood of your car. If you start the engine, you could severely hurt an animal. So before you start up your vehicle, honk the horn or bang on the hood to allow the cat to get away. I have a Siberian Husky, so there are no cats in my yard. Finally, just like you should leave your pet in the car when it's hot outside, don't leave them in the car when it's cold, as the extreme temperatures can hurt them. For more information, you can check out the American Red Cross website for safety for your pets at redcross.org. That's all I have for this evening.
Great, thank you very much. Two quick announcements. First, on Monday, the 19th of February, all town offices will be closed in observance of President's Day, and will reopen again on Tuesday. And my second announcement is that next Tuesday, the 13th, I will be holding a information meeting as it relates to Shadow Pines. Discuss a little bit about the history from when it ceased operation to current. We'll have a number of Q's and A's. You can also find a lot of that information on our website. This is not designed to be a debate. This is an information item meeting only, so I will take those questions that are submitted. I'll also take questions from anyone that is in the audience that evening. That particular meeting will be recorded, and it will be showed between next Tuesday and when the vote is. And again, it's the intent is an information item or information meeting. Mr. Moore.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. The AARP Foundation Tax Aid Program is again partnering with the Penfield Department of Recreation to provide a free income tax return preparation for low to moderate income households with a focus on seniors 60 years of age or older. Individuals can sign up for an appointment to meet with an AARP representative on a Wednesday at the community center. Items that you must bring for your appointment include a photo ID of you and your spouse, if married and filing jointly, Social Security cards for yourself, your spouse, or any claimed dependents, a check to make a direct deposit for any funds, proof of health insurance coverage. Time and resources are limited, so please visit penfieldrec.org or see page 28 of the Winter Spring Recreation brochure for complete appointment information. To schedule an appointment, contact the Recreation Department at 340-8655, extension 0. Appointments will be made every available Wednesday through April 11th, 2018. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Moore.
I have three announcements. Penfield Rotary will be holding our annual spring euchre tournament on Sunday, March 11th at the Legacy at 40 Willow Pond Way, beginning at 2 p.m. Cash prizes will be awarded based on scores of 8 games. Participants are limited to 100 players, so register soon. Tickets are $20 before March 10th and $25 at the door. You can register at Family First Credit Union on Browncroft Boulevard or by mailing a check payable to Penfield Rotary or by calling Charlie at 381-8889. For complete tournament and registration details, log into penfieldrotary.org. My second announcement, every February, the Penfield Trails Committee hosts an indoor hike. It's a presentation at the Town Hall. This year's event will be held Saturday, February 10th, beginning at 10 a.m. The featured speaker will be Mindy McLaren, who is the founder and the developer of the Irene Gosson Nature Preserve. Mindy will focus her discussion on the land preserve's history and share the inspiring story of former Penfield Town Supervisor Irene Gosson. Mindy will also mention some of the future land use objectives of the 18-acre parcel located across from Rothfuss Park. Participants looking to attend this free presentation are asked to pre-register by calling Penfield Recreation at 340-8655. And my last announcement is that my monthly community chat will be Tuesday, February 20th, 5:30 to 7 at the library in the new book area. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, we'll move on to public participation. 2 opportunities to participate. You can do so here at the podium. You can call in at 340-8771, or you can log on at penfield.org. In December, at our December meeting, we had a rather lengthy meeting, and I extended an offer to an individual that wanted to address the board on a matter, and I see that she has joined us this evening. So I'll ask our clerk to please call our first speaker.
Christina Emmerine.
Christina, welcome.
Hello. Thank you for the opportunity for letting me go first today. I appreciate it. My name is Christina Emmerine, and I live on Thorntree Circle. The concern I'd like to discuss is in regards to pesticide usage on the parks, fields, and other places where children play. Numerous research studies have looked at the relationship of pesticides and human health and have found detrimental effects. A systematic review of the literature indicates a positive relationship between exposure to pesticides and development of some cancers, particularly brain, prostate, kidney cancers, as well as non-Hodgkin's lymphoma and leukemia. Regarding children, studies found neurological impairment, such as delayed verbal memory, poor motor skills, behavioral problems, delays in mental development, attention problems, pervasive developmental disorders. And my background is in clinical psychology with a focus on children, so this is particularly close to my heart. Children receive greater exposure because they breathe more per unit of body weight. Children's nervous system, immune, digestive, and other systems are still developing and are less able to detoxify and excrete these pollutants. Children tend to spend more time outdoors on grass, playing fields, and play equipment where pesticides may be present. A number of studies on children found increased risk of cancer associated with critical periods of exposure, both prenatally and postnatally. Further concerning regarding prenatal exposure is that pesticides pass through the blood-brain barrier and placenta. Thus, this is a serious concern not only for my family, but all Penfield families. We should feel comfortable having our children play in our town. In my opinion, this is a matter of safety. Other Penfield moms have expressed their concerns as well. It is important to at least look into and address this issue, as children are among the most vulnerable, and also children are an important piece of the town of Penfield, and we want to remain a child-friendly area. Penfield is one of the worst offenders in regards to pesticides, and this is looking at Monroe and the surrounding 9 counties. And do we want to be able to say we are aware of pesticides and the health linkage, and we are addressing the situation to the best of our abilities? We can then say to Penfield residents that children's safety is a top priority. My question to the board is, what will we do?
So we've recently had a FOIL request that has come in to the town, and the town has been gathering the information and analyzing the data. So what I have observed from the materials that we have gathered is that since 2014 we have continued to reduce the amount of materials that we have used in the town. We will be issuing the response to that FOIL request here later this week. For 2018, there are no plans to do any pesticide treatment or fertilization treatment on any of our fields or facilities. We will, however, address spot treatment programs that may come up. So if there is a ground bees on a field where kids are playing, we'll address that with spot treatments, consistent with and as approved by, DEC, and we'll follow those guidelines. But again, we want to make sure that we're also keeping those participants safe from some of those types of hazards.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for addressing that. And the question, you mentioned the spot treatment. Will there be signs around
yes,
where they
by law, you have to do that.
You got to marker it off, too.
Right.
Yeah.
Will it be made public what treatments will be used for the spot treatments?
All materials that we have used in the past and anything that we might use for spot treatments, all of that information will have material safety data sheets or what they call safety data sheets now, and available for anyone that wants to view those. They will be available from the individual or individuals that are applying it. It'll also be available at our Public Works Department.
Great. And you mentioned the fields and facilities, so this is including all the playing fields, the parks as well, the playground, around the playground areas?
That is correct.
Okay, and so the plan for 2018 is no pesticides other than spot treatments?
Exactly.
Okay. Those are my questions.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for coming in. Sorry for the delay. Thank you for being
again for
patient
allowing me to speak today.
and coming back. All right. Thank you.
Kathy Strong.
Good evening.
Welcome, Kathy.
Thank you. I'm Kathy Strong. I live on Pine View Drive. On January 20th, I sent members of the town board a letter, and I'm responding and following up as I said that I would. In that letter, I discussed the fact that the summaries of real estate data that appear in the Saturday Democrat and Chronicle show that in 2017, real estate values in Penfield declined by 3.8%. In Monroe County overall, there was a 4.9% increase. In the east side towns, there was a 4.9% increase. In Perrington, there was an 8.9% increase. And in Webster, there was a 6.3% increase. If you combine the losses with their gains, I think that it means that if my house was in Perrington, it would have gained 12.8% in value over 2016 at the end of 2017. And in Webster, it would have gained 10.1% in value. That's a very significant difference. I don't think I have to review with you what Penfield's assets are as a location to live. We have the proximity to the expressways, we have shopping, we have banking, we have restaurants, we have impeccable, safe neighborhoods, and we have good schools. And I think if we think about the concerns of most property owners, we think of health and safety. Well, in Penfield, Monroe County and the fire districts own that responsibility. We think about utilities. In Penfield, private corporations own that responsibility. Schools, and the Penfield School District owns that responsibility. We think about maintenance of neighborhoods and individual properties, and that's the responsibility of the property owners. And my experience in Penfield, and I've lived here for 35 years, is that most property owners go to great effort and expense to maintain their properties and enhance their properties. That leads us to leaves us with the value of their home, which is extremely important to most homeowners. It's a major section of people's assets. Maintenance and enhancement of home values is very, very important. And assuming that health and safety, utilities, and schools are being addressed by their responsible parties, and homeowners are meeting their responsibilities, it seems to me that you people on the town board have to accept some or all responsibility for enhancing property values. So my question to you is, why aren't property values keeping pace with neighboring towns and communities in Monroe County? And specifically, my questions for you are, do you have an explanation for the declining real estate values? To what extent do you accept responsibility for determining the cause of the situation and remedying it? And what do you plan to do next?
So my first comment is that that data that is in the Democrat and Chronicle that comes out is garbage. And I say that so I'm going to be very candid. I'm going to say that for this reason is that they're not comparing apples to apples year on year. They don't take into account all the dynamics that goes on. In fact, this board just recently met with our assessor, and our assessor tells us that the properties in Penfield have gained value at 4%. What it doesn't share in that data is how many homes were, for instance, mobile homes that sold. A mobile home selling for $36,000 versus a $1 million home will give you a different value as far as your average versus if you have a new subdivision that all of the homes are 200,000 or above that go in. It doesn't take into account all of that data. It doesn't take
Tony,
into account.
excuse me, but the sample sizes are the same, have been pretty consistent over the years. So the skewing of a mobile home park versus $1 million property is going to be averaged. And you also are suggesting then that the Democrat and Chronicle or the Real Estate Board in publishing this data is picking on Penfield.
No,
that they're
I
not
didn't.
equally applying.
I never said that, Kathy.
Well, but what you're saying is, you're saying they're garbage, but it has
Kathy,
to be relative.
Don't put words in my mouth.
Okay.
Okay? Don't put more. I won't put words in your mouth. Don't put
Okay,
words in my
thank you.
mouth. What I'm telling you is that that information is not 100% accurate year on year. I would be more than happy to sit down with you and sit down with resources here at the town hall, and we can go through the data and compare the full data, not things that have been pulled out either for short sales, for foreclosures, and all of those other items.
But this is relative data, Tony. This is what I'm saying, is that my property, if it were 500 feet farther over the border in Perrington, this would apply. It's relative data. It's not absolute data to
My
Penfield
question
alone.
is, how do you, because I'm confused, because I'm very familiar with the real estate listings and talked to an appraiser in response to your email. And in doing so, how do you correlate a percentage, that percentage to your particular property?
Well, we're looking at average. So
Okay.
we're saying that my property is average and it would,
I would
gain or lose at
disagree
the
with,
same time.
again, the data is important, and I would disagree with how that that conclusion is made. Certainly across the board, from year to year, as Tony pointed out, and as a longtime Penfield broker and appraiser told me about the same data along the same lines as Tony mentioned, that, for instance, you can't just take that percentage and apply it across the board to residential parcels in the town.
But can you argue about the fact that ours is a decline and others is an increase? I mean, are you suggesting that there's something in
have
the
to
data
look-
that's picking on Penfield?
No, and I don't think anyone's suggesting that, but I would have to look at all the parcels that were sold. That's from the MLS, correct? They draw from the MLS?
It's Rochester Real Estate Association.
Where do they
That's
draw
not
their numbers
complete
from?
information.
MLS?
I'm guessing that. I don't
Okay.
know for sure.
So
but I'm guessing.
MLS includes foreclosures, short sales. It does not include quitclaim deeds that keep a property flat as far as the appraised value. I don't think so, does it?
Well, but what you're saying that this doesn't apply to all towns, and it does. The same, whatever's
Sure.
skewing this data applies to all of the towns, not just Penfield. So the relative data, regardless of the actual percentage, the relative data is what's important, and it shows that our property is losing value and properties around us are gaining value.
I think that the conclusion is that, depending on the parcels that are in that sample from the MLS, it's not so much that our property is losing value, it's that over a period of time, looking at the sale prices or what they closed at. And remember, when a property closes, it doesn't necessarily mean that's the value of the property, correct?
But it's the value that the homeowner realizes for it. The assessed value means nothing.
Because there's concessions at
It's the value that you
closing.
sell that.
There's concessions at closings that can skew the numbers.
But I'm going to suggest to you again that you're saying that this is unique to Penfield. You're saying that these
No, I'm not saying it's
situations don't
unique.
exist
I'm
across
saying next year, the
board.
numbers could be completely different based upon what's sold in Perrington versus what's sold in Penfield.
Yeah, except that these sample sizes have remained the same for 2 years in a row, which suggests to me that it's a pretty good cross-section of the real estate within the town. There's nothing that suggests that there's been any big surge of sales in mobile homes or in million-dollar homes.
I would say that, you know, given from year to year, it would change from town to town. I just question data all the
Well,
time.
and I can only tell you that the most
Especially
recent,
MLS.
the most recent data suggests that the trend continues. Now, it's a very small sample size, but it certainly hasn't shown any difference.
I think the reality that we see, at least that I see, which I think contradicts that data, I'm not saying that data is false, but we have to look at the reality of how fast houses sell in Penfield. And are you saying that we should have more development, we should have more houses that?
No, I'm saying that if that was what's driving it, if it was volume of sales that were driving it, the prices should be going up, because the law of supply and demand says when there's a high demand, the prices should be going up, and that's not what's happening.
Well,
I'm suggesting that people from Penfield are buying other homes in Penfield. I think that might be what's happening. But I don't think we're attracting, this suggests to me that we're not attracting people from outside.
Okay, fair enough.
Well, and I would just like to add to the conversation, Kathy, I got your email too, and I discussed it with a realtor that I know who is very familiar with Penfield. He's a Penfield resident, specializes in the east suburbs, who disagreed with pretty much your assertion on the Penfield market. Going through the home purchasing process myself in 2016, I can say firsthand that homes that I was looking at were selling within days, some within hours of when they went on the market. I can think of at least 5 different occasions that my wife and I hemmed and hawed on a house for 24 hours, and if we did not come in non-contingent, we weren't even considered for that particular house, and we lost the house many
But
times.
Andy, doesn't that, I mean, don't the laws of supply and demand
Sure they do.
suggest then that prices should
Right,
be going
and-
up instead of going down?
I agree. And in fact, you talked about averages. And in some of the information that he gave me, and I just want to read this for the record, averages in Penfield. In 2018, so far in January, January's average house sale was more or higher than it was in January of 17, in January of 16. In February of 2017, the average house sale was higher than it was in February of 16, February of 15, and February of 14. In March of 2017, the average house sale was higher than it was in March of 15, of 2014, 2013, and close to 2016. In 2017, in May, the average house sale was higher than it was in 2016, 2015, 2014, 2013. And in June of 2017, the average house sale was higher than it was in 2016, 2015, 2014, and 2013. If you want to take a look at median sales in the town of Penfield, in 2018 of January, that was higher, the median sale, than it was in 2017, 2014, 2013, 2012, 2011. In 2017 of February, the median was higher than it was in February of 16, 15, 14, and 13, and on and on and on.
Well,
So-
Andy, I, with all due respect, this data contradicts what you're saying. So I guess it's a question of my data versus your data.
Sure, absolutely.
And we can choose, you know, not to believe either. But it would seem to me that we're still talking about relative values, and that clearly we're not keeping up with the towns around us. And I strongly believe that the town board owns some responsibility for that, and that it's up to you to figure out what's going on and then develop an agenda to try to remediate that.
Okay.
And one extra thing, when I got the email, I sent it over to our town assessor, who said she'd be glad to sit down and talk with you, because she said that the numbers were painted with a broad brush, and that they're raw numbers, and they're not accurately demonstrating what's happening in our town. So if you'd like, Tony's offered to sit with you, but the town assessor has as well.
But because, Linda, only because you're only talking about Penfield-specific values. I'm talking about relative values. So I would want to sit down in a panel with the assessors from Webster and from Perrington and from Penfield and listen to them talk about the issues. That's the only way you're going to get a handle on the relative data.
I think it's really hard when to have that data be credible, only because you know, it's not necessarily apples and oranges, but for instance, to use an analogy of cars, this is how that data from the MLS is derived, and maybe it's just a matter of confusion. If you had a car lot that had a Ferrari, 3 Corvettes, a Honda Accord, and a Pinto, there's going to be an average sale there.
And that's what this reflects.
If you had next door a lot that had a couple Ferraris, a couple Corvettes, a minivan, and a Tesla, who's going to be have a higher average?
So you're suggesting then that both Webster and Parrington have more highly valued properties than we
Potentially
do?
for that draw, yeah, because there could have been old townhomes in Penfield one year.
But there could have been in Webster and in Parrington too.
But
And I
maybe
think
not,
that that's
yes.
why those are valid comparisons, because I think that the real estate spectrum is quite similar in those 3 towns. I didn't include Brighton because I think that's an older set of properties, so I don't think that's appropriate. But those 3, Parrington, Penfield, and Webster, seem to me to have very similar property bases.
Did the real estate person you consult with tell you that houses are selling for less than asking price?
We didn't go into that. I said,
not.
why don't people want to look at houses in Penfield? What's going on? And she said, because the perceived value of town services is not what it is in Parrington and what it is in Webster and in the other East Side towns. That was her answer. And I'm giving you the opportunity to refute that, but I would want it based on some kind of fact other than relative rather than specific to Penfield.
Yeah,
It's her opinion.
It seems
that's
to me
your
that-
opinion. I mean, it's
Okay.
certain, and data can be argued, you know, either way. And I don't think that, you know, I think that data can always tell us something. And so if in fact to assume that what you're saying is correct, I don't believe so.
Well, would it be-
I think it's just a matter of education.
Okay, if in the vein of education, wouldn't it make sense to impanel realtors who sell across all 3 towns or across the whole East Side, not just exclusive to Penfield,
I think
and
that's what
ask
Andy was
them what's
talking
going
about.
on?
I think that's what Andy was talking about, and quite frankly, we're not hearing what you were told from realtors.
Okay, I mean, with all due respect, you haven't named your sources, you haven't told me how many people you've worked with.
My source is Mike Lease. He's our pet resident of Penfield, and he's the broker for Caldwell Banker here in Rochester.
Yeah, he currently has a listing on my street, as a matter of fact, yeah.
Have you seen your
He'd be
personal-
happy to speak with you if you'd like, because that's where my information came from.
And how much has your house declined in value?
I don't know because I don't have it up for sale,
How
nor have
about
I had it up
like
for
in
sale.
your neighborhood, are they not selling?
They're selling for about their listing price, and the listing price is usually suggested by the realtors who have their finger on the pulse
The
of the
market
neighborhood.
price, yeah. I'm just curious, if maybe you were looking to sell and you're.
No,
you're-
not immediately, no,
Okay.
not at all.
Right.
So my offer still stands, Kathy. I'd be more than happy to, and would love to get together and have some broader conversations about this. One of the things that I think you may be looking at or possibly hinting at is that does Webster or Parrington provide more services, for instance, to their town residents? Hence, is that viewed as adding more value, to that property? Leaf pickup, I'll use leaf pickup. Town of Penfield does not pick up leaves. The town of Webster picks up leaves. The town of Brighton picks up leaves. Parrington picks up leaves. And for that comes a cost. And, so if you take a look at tax rates, Penfield is the 4th lowest tax rate in the county. And, that certainly could increase with, more or additional amenities that you add, which could in
Or
fact.
with the purchase of Shadow Pines.
Which, yep, that's certainly something that you have the opportunity to vote either for or against on the 27th of February. So there are those amenities that other towns may have that the town of Penfield does not have, and those obviously do come with a, with a price associated with it.
Okay. I'm very sorry that you're rejecting a concern about this. It's one that, I brought up honestly. I do follow these values because I think that real estate values are a very important part of people's asset base.
No
and
question.
I think as a group, if you choose to ignore that, I think you're ignoring a major issue.
And again, my offer stands to sit down and have a broader conversation with you about that.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Sarah Timmerman.
Hi, Sarah Timmerman. I live on Lazy Trail. So in my neighborhood, the street off of ours is Valley Green in the Village Green East neighborhood. And there's these two, I guess they're like sewer covers that the road comes down around, but they seem to have excessively large holes around them. And it's a very noticeable dip when you drive over them. And when I'm driving at night or with the snow, you can't really notice them. And I assume it's also a hazard if you're biking around the neighborhood. And since there are no sidewalks, you have to go within the roads.
Mm-hmm.
And it just seems like it's worth a look. I don't know if they're average for the town or above average, but it feels like it's worth a look because it's two of them fairly close together. And I mean, I can't drive through the neighborhood with my parents without them mentioning it. So, and when I drove out here tonight, went that way out of the neighborhood, and couldn't see them with the snow, and it was a noticeable dip with my car.
Got it. So we'll be more than happy to take a look at that. This time of year, we tend to have, with a lot of frost heaving and, frost in the ground, and so we get some heaving and we get some potholes or openings, and but we'd be more than happy to take a look at that to see if, in fact, it is excessive or if there's something that needs to be done, cold patch or something like that.
Okay, I mean, you guys did a great job addressing a pothole last year that came up from the winter, so I don't know if it's like new with the development, just would want it to be addressed because it's a neighborhood concern.
Sure.
Now, Valley Green goes around to a circle, so can you just pinpoint?
So it's between
where like Summer Glen
the
comes in and hits Valley Green?
Yeah, so it's between the two Lazy Trail entrance. It's like, know.
Okay, where Lazy Trail goes like this, there's
Yeah.
two of them in between the two Lazy Trail?
It's the beginning, what's considered the beginning of Lazy Trail.
At Valley Green and Lazy Trail. I live in that neighborhood.
Yeah, and it's considered the beginning side of it, so it's where like this road starts.
Yeah.
And the both potholes are right in between the
between.
entrance
In
to
between
Lazy
the one
Trail.
that's closest to Summer Glen, not the other side of the Lazy Trail.
Yes.
Yeah.
I believe
got
so,
it.
yes.
Yep.
Okay. We can take a look at those,
Okay.
Sarah. Yeah, I would say probably, depending upon snow and things, we have our guys right now doing snow and ice control.
Yeah.
But, if not tomorrow or Friday, early next week, get a chance to take a look at that.
All right, thank you.
Absolutely, thank you. Thanks for coming in.
Jim Mathers.
Hi, Jim.
How we doing?
Not bad.
Jim Mathers, Creek Hill Lane, Penfield, Rochester, Panorama. Just want to ask a couple of questions on our favorite topic here of late. And one of the main financial considerations that has created controversy regarding the purchase of Shadow Pines is the impact of the Penfield Central School District. Have you considered, and if not, will you consider inviting a representative of the district to attend the February 15th informational meeting?
February 13th? Tuesday the 13th?
Yes.
Tuesday the 13th.
February 13th.
So I certainly will be happy to reach out to Tom Putnam, the superintendent. I'm not going to promise or guarantee
Right.
that.
You can only invite.
Yep,
You can't obligate them
I
to
certainly
show
can let
up.
him know that we're having it, and if he would like to come and field any questions. Again, I'm not going to promise or guarantee that he will be there. What I can guarantee you that I will extend an invitation.
Fair enough. No, I just think it's one of the big financial issues that a very tug-of-war, very dipole situation of what one group might think and another group may say about the impact of increased enrollment in the schools and how that enrollment bounces up and down year to year for various reasons and various development. My perception is they want to remain neutral, but I'd like someone at that meeting to present their position because it is very contentious.
So, and I said it earlier, I'll say it again, I'll probably say it again before we end tonight, and that is that it isn't going to be, the session isn't designed to be a debate session. The session is going to be to give factual information, and I will extend the invitation to Dr. Putnam and any member of his team.
Very good. I did have a chance to review the purchase agreement since it's been released to the public. And I just have a couple of questions regarding the final purchase agreement. I see it spells out a 200-foot wide, 37.5 acre buffer around Whalen and Clark roads. That would equate to about 18% of the acreage, or if it were proportioned to the total sale price, that acreage would be worth around $593,000. It is listed as a benefit to the seller. Safety concerns, I assume. Do you think this is fair to the taxpayers? And during negotiations, was it asked that they may want to donate that as green space because it's to their benefit? Why are we purchasing $500 and some thousand worth of property that can never be used for anything except a driveway?
So that was something that was part of the conditions that they had as part of the overall sale of the property, is that nothing would be built on that, regardless of who were to look at purchasing the property. That has been put in and on their books for many, many years, and that was something that they believed that they needed to have as part of that any sale to anyone that was looking to purchase that property.
But do you have a response why that will be the responsibility of the town taxpayers to pay for that property?
So
that's to their benefit.
Yep, that is something they requested, Jim, and that is something that we accepted as part of the contract that was signed by the town.
Okay. Another, just curiosity about that. Why does it extend all the way up Clark Road? That's not even close to the quarry.
What I can tell you, it has been on their books for many, many years, and part of their overall records. And that was something that at any time that they went to sell the property, that was going to be in place.
Just one more. When you say on their books, on their records, what records are these?
On their information about the property and sale of the property and what have you. It's
to
it's
the
been,
town, just since
no,
it
it's
started?
just no. It's been something that they've had in place, regardless of when they sold it and who they sold it to. That was going to be part of the contingency for the purchase of the property.
I'll let it ride, but I'm still a little confused. Before 2016, who were they talking to about selling, and when it was a golf course?
They weren't talking about selling to anyone. It was
Right, so,
you know, part of the original plan that was put together when the Odenbach family built the golf course, and then Oldcastle purchased from the Odenbach family. It's been in place for many, many years.
And considered a safety barrier.
I guess you could call it, you know, whatever you want it to call it. I mean, if it's a safety barrier or, you know, a buffer or whatever.
Okay. I know what I'd call it. Enough said. The total financial amount of the two bond issues is $3.65 million. The purchase price agreed to in the purchase agreement is $3.35 million, a difference of $300,000. I assume this is for contingencies associated with the purchase. Ones I know of is appraisal report, land survey, environmental review, purchasing and bond consultants. I don't want to blindside you, but for the informational meeting, would it be possible to have an itemized list of what those costs were planned to be and how much sunken funds we have to date in this project?
I can identify what monies have been spent to date, yes.
And possibly a projection of where the $300,000 number come from?
So what I'll say to you that the $300,000 is if you don't, whatever you don't use, you don't bond. So in other words, that money was identified as what I'll call the soft costs. So engineering associated with going and doing the environmental survey, for the survey of the property, for bond counsel, for real estate counsel, for closing of the bonds and going to market. That money was identified or earmarked as that. If we end up spending $180,000, that's all that will be bonded. It won't. You won't bond the full $300,000.
Okay, so it'll be the 3.35 mil plus the cost incurred.
Whatever those actual costs are that were incurred as part of it.
Just got to ask, what if it's more than $300,000?
Well, I think what happens is that the financial folks, consult with us and give us a number where they believe that that is a reasonable number, probably conservative, probably a bit on the high side, so that you never say never, but chances are we will be well within that $300,000.
Okay.
And again, that's provided that there is a favorable vote.
Agreed. Okay. I just appreciate it if you'd invite somebody from the school board. And that's
Okay.
all you can do is invite somebody.
I will extend the invitation.
I hope they attend because it's an important issue.
Yep.
Their input. Thank
Okay.
you.
Yep. Thank you, Jim.
I don't have anybody else signed up.
All right. So I see Mr. Ogie's got his hand up, then Mr. Burns. So Sam, why don't we start with you, please, and then Jeff, you're in on the on deck circle.
Sam Ogie, I live at 1924 Clark Road. Is it possible for me to put something on the whiteboard here?
Sure.
And then I have a copy. Should I give a copy to the clerk?
If you would give it to the clerk, that'd be great, Sam. Thank you. And I'm guessing you'd like the board to have copies of that?
Yes. Unfortunately, I only have time to print.
No, that's fine. Amy will make sure that we all have copies in our respective mailboxes tomorrow.
Unfortunately, it looks like there's too much here to really show up on the video, but I'll put it up nonetheless. I just wanted to address a couple of points actually that have already been talked about tonight. We've had one speaker a little while ago who's very concerned about property values in Penfield, and then another speaker very concerned about the impact on the schools, and I think those are two very important considerations. Certainly, just looking at the budgets, comparing the school district budget to the town budget, the school district is the tail that wags the dog. Their budget is 5 times the size of the town budget. So that's one of the things that has frustrated me about all of the discussion of it's going to cost taxpayers $11 if we buy it. That may very well be true, and I believe that your estimate is likely accurate. But on the other hand, we have no discussion of what's the cost if we don't buy it. And that's what I really wanted to talk about tonight. I teach economics at the University of Rochester, and the law of supply and demand comes up all the time. And one thing that we know is if we add hundreds of houses, that does not help home values in Penfield. If you increase supply, it drives down price. And so anyone who is concerned, like Kathy was earlier, about home prices in Penfield should not be enthusiastic about 250 more homes being added. As far as the schools go, I think what we need to recognize is many people have wonderful ideas about what could be used, what that property could be used for. We've had talk about park, plain open space, senior community center, or senior housing. But none of those things happen if the town doesn't buy it. We know who wants to buy the property. It's Combat Construction. We know that in 2016, as soon as the sale was announced, they somehow had plans already ready to be viewed and tried to show them to the town, tried to show them to the Penfield School District, and the school district actually looked at them and reviewed those. 255 homes on that lot. So we know what's going to happen. And Combat Construction, who works for Ryan Homes, is still interested. September of 2017, interview from Mike D'Amico with the DNC said, we want to buy it. And I have a quote here that I'll just read since it's showing up not very well in the background. September 17th, Mike D'Amico of Combat Construction. We had a conceptual plan for the land in Penfield, but the town wouldn't accept it. Now the town is trying to negotiate a deal to purchase the land for what we were going to buy it for, around $4 million. If they can get residents to put up that money, then they can have it. But my guess is that they won't be able to, and hopefully I'll end up with it. Then just 10 days later, according to the timeline that the town published, Ryan Homes emailed the town wanting to go over their development plans because they didn't believe that the town was going to be able to negotiate a deal. So from the beginning, for all of this time and continuing up to the present, Combat Construction and Ryan Homes wants to put 250 homes on it. So the smart money is, if we don't buy it, that's what we're going to get. And to the point of the previous speaker, I know Penfield School District hasn't publicized it widely, and I'm sure that they do want to remain neutral in this, but we had the very same question on the moratorium committee. What would be the impact on the schools? And the Penfield Central School District prepared an estimate of the financial impact on the schools. They expect over 300 additional students in the school. They expect that that's going to cost somewhere between $3.2 million and $4.4 million annually to accommodate those students. The low end being if they just add classrooms, the high end being if they have to build a new school. So between 3.2 and 4.4 million annually to accommodate those students. And in their review of the Ryan Homes plan, they only expect $2.1 million in tax revenue from those homes. So we're talking about a deficit of somewhere between $1.1 million and $2.3 million annually. We're going to buy the land for just $3.6 million, and that's spread out over years. So just a few years of savings on the school budget will pay for that property. I looked around for information. I know that the town has been publicizing $11 per homeowner on average, but approximately what is the annual total cost of the bonds? Is it a little under $200,000?
I would like to get back to you and others on that, Sam. I don't want to speak off the top of my head and mislead anybody.
Okay.
But that is definitely something that we could get. Again, what those approximate annual payments would be. There is a matrix that was put together by our financial folks, based on the cost of the property and then the soft cost, and what that broke down on an annual basis, and then that's where they actually calculated the $11 for a home that was $190,000. The average home, $190,000, right, was going to be $11 a year. Right. So I can get the broader matrix, but I don't have that right off the top of my head.
Okay, all right. So one of the members of Save Shadow Pines actually had obtained a copy of the bond payment schedule, I believe, Jim Froome. And
yeah, no, that's public. I mean, it's public information. Like I said, I just don't don't have it right off the top of my head.
So I hope to get an exact number, but according to him, the annualized cost of the bonds will be around $180,000, so less than $200,000. And what maintenance do we expect if we use a comparable property like Rothfuss Park or something like that? What's a ballpark maintenance that we're talking about?
Again, it would depend upon the amount of maintenance that that we would do in that area, and to what degree and how much. You know, certainly one of the things that the town board has discussed, at least short term, until more details are flushed out about future uses, would be to maintain around the Clark House, similar to what was done by the current owner. And to maintain that, and I believe our DPW has put together a figure for that. I can get that figure out as well, and I can make that as part of the information meeting.
So the number that I've heard, and I don't have it written down or the source, is about $200,000 per year or a little less. Does that seem reasonable? I mean, are we talking about $1 million a year to maintain a property, or are we talking about $100,000 a year to maintain a property?
I would say you're closer to the lower end than the high, definitely than the higher end.
So if we're talking about a couple $100,000 a year in bond and a couple $100,000 a year to maintain the property, we're looking about a $400,000 expense to the town and to town residents, versus Penfield Schools looking at about $1 million a year. So even if the Penfield school estimate is very conservative, the increased cost to the schools only has to be a fraction of what they estimated, and by avoiding that, we've saved enough to preserve the property. And that's, I think, something that people have to recognize. We're talking about this cost, this cost, this cost, and ignoring what really is going to be the bigger cost. And you know, I don't think that the dollars here, dollars there are the best reason to buy the property. I think all the things that other people have talked about with open space and potential parks and potential for valuable community use, that's the reason to do it. But I just want people to recognize that not doing that and losing out on that opportunity is actually likely going to cost us more money as well. We're not saving money by losing this opportunity or not following through on this opportunity. So I would also agree and encourage you to do what the previous speaker asked. Let's have the school district come and say. They've produced something in the past for the moratorium committee that looks very negative for the town financially and town residents if we fail to preserve the property. So thank you.
Yep, thank you, Sam. Jeff Burns, I think, was next. And we'll make sure that the clerk provides the board and the town attorney copies of that material that you handed out.
I can do this without dropping everything. Yeah, I had some material I wanted to provide as well.
If you'd just give that to the clerk, thank you very much.
I think there's enough here. My name's Jeff Burns. I am one of the founders of Save Shadow Pines. I live at 39 Scarborough Park. So one of the first things I'd like to talk about tonight is that there are 4 really important upcoming events concerning Shadow Pines. One that I think you mentioned a few minutes ago, that on February...
Order. Same thing you did, Neil Madden.
But that was after he talked for an hour.
Oh, so we have a time clock? No, it's just the advertisement here. We can get in a debate. If we had it set up a debate, that's fine. But if I don't come here and advertise my business, I don't come here with a religious affiliation, or have a question or a speech that would require some type of rebuttal
This is an issue of interest to the entire community. This isn't an advertisement. I'm not benefiting personally from anything that's being provided here.
How do you feel, Tony?
So I will rule on the point of order. This board looks for information on any particular project that comes in, for or against, good or bad. That's the reason we have public hearings, public information meetings, and things like that. And so certainly if you had a sign like this to the counterpoint, or if you had materials that you would like to make the board aware, certainly the board would accept that as well.
I'll go sketch out a sign.
Okay.
Okay. All right, so I'm here to talk about first that there are these
So
upcoming
I would
events.
ask, certainly, Jeff, ask that you're providing information to the board.
Of course.
So, okay.
Yep. I just want to clarify, did you announce a few minutes ago that that February 13th that the town of Penfield will be having a public information meeting? And you mentioned something about that thereafter.
That is correct.
Okay, and then there is going to be a voter registration on February 14th. And that for people that vote on the referendum, if they're already registered, they don't have to worry about that. That's only for people who are not registered and want to vote on this referendum and vote thereafter.
That is correct.
Okay. And then I wanted to mention a community event that the Save Shadow Pines organization is sponsoring, is that we will be having a Save Shadow Pines information session on Thursday, February 22nd. And that will be 7 to 8:30 at the Penfield Community Center. And there we'll be providing a presentation on why our residents should vote yes on this referendum, and the importance of voting yes on both propositions within the referendum, that for the referendum to succeed, they need to vote yes to save the Clark House, and also vote yes to save the Shadow Pines land, and to approve those bond referendums, those bond propositions. And then we'll also be providing more information like Sam did tonight about the financial benefits to taxpayers about purchasing Shadow Pines and why it's a wise investment for the town, and that it will actually save taxpayers money compared to the alternative. And then we'll also be providing a vision to the future of what's possible at Shadow Pines, considering that eventually the quarry will fill with water and we'll have a wonderful lake there. And by owning the land adjacent to that lake, the amazing opportunities that will be available to the town. After that, we'll have a panel of experts that will be conducting a question and answer session. And then after that, we'll have an opportunity for our townspeople who would like to be involved in this to pick up lawn signs, door hangers, and other materials. And we'll have an action plan for the last portion of the effort to save Shadow Pines before the election, before the referendum. So that was the main thing I wanted to say tonight. And then also I wanted to support what Sam was saying, that really we have an either-or here. We can either choose to allow development there and pay additional taxes and have additional traffic in that area and have all the other things that go along with having additional congestion, or we can choose to protect this area as open space, which will effectively reduce our property taxes on this, for school property taxes relative to what it would be with the development there. And we have the benefits of the open space, of which there are many. I wish that Kathy, who spoke earlier, was still here, because one of the people that have been going to our Facebook page happened to send a report from the American Planning Association. And in that report, it listed several of the benefits of open space. If I can find that report, I had it here. But it will enhance the property values for everyone in a community generally when there is additional open space. It also improves the tax base for the town in which open space is provided, as well as the many health benefits of having that area and the benefits for nature. So anyways, her concern was that the town might not be doing enough to enhance property values, and here's exactly the kind of thing that will help enhance property values. It will make the town a more desirable place for people to move to, and it also, one of the other benefits that it mentioned is that it actually helps to attract senior citizens. It surprised me when I saw this in this report, but that there would be more seniors that would want to live in a community where there's more open space. They want a place where they can have recreation. So that's what I wanted to say tonight. I want to thank you again for all the work you've been doing on this project.
Thank you. The only comment I'll make, Jeff, and again, just more for the record, the Tuesday, February 13th, that'll be a public information meeting held by the town. I will be doing the presentation. The town needs to remain neutral and impartial through this process. The Thursday, February 22nd, that is a session that is being run by your group, Save Shadow Pines.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
All right.
Good.
Thank you. Our next speaker, yes. Come. Because we're tape recording this, we've got to get that on in case anyone at home can get.
Here I go. Ginny McCullough, 49 Valley Green Drive.
Hi, Ginny.
I came to the meeting just to observe, actually, and after hearing some of the individuals speak, I think there is a basic point that is being missed here. You have a 30-year bond. You know the value that it will cost the town. You have a school board that if anyone in the town of Penfield or pays school taxes or looks at their bills, knows that that bill does not go down. It goes up every single year. And to have a control over the value of that property and the sale price of that property in that 30-year bond, which is, as you estimate, $11, as opposed to a total unknown with the school district. Having been on the school board, I can tell you, it takes years to qualify how many children are in a school district to the quantity of the buildings and or teachers. It is not an overnight thing. So therefore, there is an unknown thrown into that equation. You just don't know. Plain and simple. To me, it's a no-brainer. We have an exact amount and an unknown amount. Thank you. It's just so obvious to me. Thanks.
All right. Thank you, Jenny. Is there anyone else that would like to address? Yes, sir. Please come forward. Welcome.
Hi, Dan Mahalko, live on Huntington Meadow. I would just like to thank the board for their expediency in acting on this. I appreciated all the work that you've done on this to get it this far. And I think that Penfield will be missing out on the crown jewel of Penfield if they don't go through with this purchase. Hearing Sam talk, for a $200,000 house to pay $25 a year in additional cost for even just to be able to walk on that golf cart or jog or ride your bike, you know, and just leave the rest of it wild is unbelievable. That really is the crown jewel. And to set this forward a number of years when Penfield could take over that the Dolomite Lake, it just adds to that. That will be a treasure that Penfield will be have in their coffers for centuries, that people will want to live in Penfield just because of that. So for all the voters that might not show up, you can't show up, get your absentee vote lined up and get it voted in. So I just want to thank you for that.
Dan, could you spell your last name, please?
Michahalko.
Thank you.
Yes, first-time speakers. Yes, welcome.
Carol Samuel, 27 Huntington Meadow. I think that the opposition Army is not giving everybody as many facts about the cost, monetary or community. And I'm so sorry that people are behind him because they're not getting the truth. He's telling folks, as I understand, that our taxes will go up, our town taxes will go up, without saying a word about the school taxes. And that's just a huge portion. I'm saying that out so that the people who might be listening to this meeting will hear it. I know you know that. I would also like to compliment you on the magnificent signs that you are putting out, or you have put out. I know they are not voting yes or no for either side, but they are very, very available and noteworthy. When I saw the first one, all I could say is, and I won't say it as loud as I did, because I was alone in the car and I could, ah! And then I got to my street and it's like, oh my goodness, and it was another wow. I'm so happy that you are making this referendum well known to the public.
That is the key, to give everyone who is interested in voting either way the opportunity to vote.
Right. And just to note, I'm wearing my Pines shirt.
Thank you. Yes, Donna?
Donna Spinella, 39 Scarborough Park. I wanted to say that I know that the town motto is the town of planned progress. And for a long time, I kind of wondered how we demonstrated that. But I think in the efforts to try to save Shadow Pines, the town's board's unanimous vote to purchase this property back in the fall, the efforts that many of the members of this community have been making and working on for 2 years is the most concrete evidence that I have seen since I've lived here of what the town of planned progress really can be. That progress isn't always putting up another building or throwing in a smokestack somewhere. That progress is forward-thinking generations out of what the best outcomes can be for everyone, what the best land use plans can be for everyone, and what preserving options for what the town residents may want in the future are all about. So I would just like to say I'm glad we stuck with the motto of a town of planned progress, and I think that saving Shadow Pines is the best evidence of that we could provide for future generations. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other first-time speakers? Seeing none, any second-time speakers? Okay, seeing none, there will be an opportunity at the end of the meeting. Anyone that would like to address the board on any matter will have another opportunity to do so. We'll move on to additions and deletions to the agenda. Board, any additions or deletions to the agenda? Seeing none, we have the minutes of January 3rd before us. January 3rd, 2018. Would entertain a motion of approval for those minutes.
I move that the minutes of January 3rd be approved.
I'll second that.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion on those minutes? Seeing none, I'd ask for a roll call vote, please.
Cole?
Aye.
LaFountain?
Aye.
Metzler?
Aye.
Moore?
Aye.
4 ayes.
Petitions. Has the board, town attorney or town clerk received any petitions since our last get-together? No. Okay. This will take us to resolutions by function. We'll start with law and finance, please.
Approval of issuance of a conditional use permit to allow a sit-down restaurant with outdoor dining and outdoor entertainment at 2126 5 Mile Line Road.
Moved.
Second.
Whereas an application has been received by the Penfield Town Board for the issuance of a conditional use permit pursuant to Chapter 250-5.10D2 of the Code to allow a sit-down restaurant with outdoor dining and outdoor entertainment at 2126 5 Mile Line Road in the Four Corners zoning district. Whereas the town board of the town of Penfield held a public hearing at the Penfield Town Hall January 13, 2018 at 7 p.m. to hear the application. Now therefore be it resolved that the applicant's request for a conditional use permit to allow a sit-down restaurant at 2126 5 Mile Line Road is hereby granted, subject to the following conditions. For the record, Mr. Supervisor, there are approximately 16 conditions. All of these conditions are consistent with the Four Corners zoning district restaurant use that we see come through this board on a continual basis. I'd just like to point out maybe one condition. Condition number 5, the applicant shall comply with the permitted hours of operation in the Four Corners zoning district, that being from 6 a.m. to 12 a.m. The restaurant shall be closed to the public at midnight on a daily basis. Thank you.
Thank you. Discussion.
Just that this restaurant is the one that was formerly known as Cha-Cha's.
Yep, and I would offer that Joe is back. This is the owner of the former Crummers down in Panorama Plaza, and he's very excited to be back in Penfield again, and much of our discussion at work session was giving menu options for him. So we'll be pleased to see this go in his hands. He's got some real exciting ideas and a real delicious menu, it sounds like.
Yes.
Okay. Further discussion? No. Seeing none, I would ask for a roll call vote, please.
Cole?
Aye.
LaFountain?
Aye.
Metzler?
Aye.
Moore?
Aye.
4 ayes. Authorization to extend agreement with the Greater Rochester chapter of the American Red Cross for storage of one disaster trailer.
Moved.
Second.
Whereas the town of Penfield and the Greater Rochester chapter of the American Red Cross desire to extend their existing agreement to store one disaster trailer designed to support the residents of Penfield and the northeast side of Monroe County area, thereby increasing disaster preparedness and response for the residents in the town of Penfield. Now therefore be it resolved that the Director of Public Works is authorized to sign a 3-year agreement with the Red Cross. The agreement is to be reviewed and approved by the town attorney.
Thank you. Discussion. See no discussion, a roll call vote, please.
Cole?
Aye.
LaFountain?
Aye.
Metzler?
Aye.
Moore?
Aye.
4 ayes. Advertising for bids for the pump station renovations at Empire Number 1 and Number 2 pump stations.
Moved.
Second.
Be it resolved that the Director of Public Works is authorized to advertise in the manner prescribed by law for sealed proposals to furnish the town of Penfield with the following: pump station renovations at the Empire Number 1 and Number 2 pump stations. Now therefore be it further resolved that the renovations to the pump stations covered by the proposals shall be in accordance with specifications prepared by the Director of Public Works. Sealed proposals are to be received in the office of the town clerk until March 9, 2018 at 11 a.m., and then and there will be opened and read publicly by the town clerk.
Thank you. Discussion. See no discussion, a roll call vote, please.
Cole?
Aye.
LaFountain?
Aye.
Metzler?
Aye.
Moore?
Aye.
4 ayes. Awarding contract for printing program brochures.
So moved.
Second.
Sealed proposals were sought and requested to furnish the Town of Penfield Recreation Department with printing the seasonal program brochure for the 2018 calendar year, including the summer, fall, winter, spring issues, to meet our specifications. On Wednesday, January 10th, proposals for the following companies were received, opened, and read publicly by the town clerk: Penny Lane Printing, Webster Printing, and Indiana Printing and Publishing Company. The print bid submitted by Indiana Printing and Publishing Company did not follow the bid specs as requested, therefore their bid was removed. The contract is awarded to Penny Lane Printing as the low bidder overall for bid number 2, including alternative 1 and alternative 2 and alternative 3 of respective bid. The bid specifications and the bid documents submitted by the formal contract are to be reviewed and approved by the town attorney, and the brochure bids are attached to this resolution.
Thank you. Discussion? Seeing no discussion, a roll call vote, please.
Cole?
Aye.
LaFountain?
Aye.
Metzler?
Aye.
Moore?
Aye.
4 ayes. Authorization for supervisor to sign recreation contracts.
So moved.
Second.
This resolution authorizes the town supervisor to sign 3 recreation contracts, and they're dealing with the programs coming up in our recreation brochure.
Great.
I would just add, Mr. Supervisor, just wanted to highlight the Earthworks Institute, a very exciting new partnership with the town of Penfield and the Earthworks Institute. In this resolution, there's the February Break Adventure Day Camp for there's two different age groups that they're running it through Harris Whalen Park. Kids will be outside exploring nature and learning about different things in nature in and around the park. And I believe they also have an after-school program now partnering with the town of Penfield and Earthworks. Again, an environmental and nature-based program for kids, which kids in my neighborhood seem to be excited about because we're so close by to it.
Right.
So I just wanted to highlight that great new partnership with Earthworks.
Okay, great. Thank you for the comments. See no further discussion. I'd ask for a roll call vote, please.
Cole.
Aye.
LaFountain.
Aye.
Metzler.
Aye.
Moore.
Aye.
4 ayes.
Okay, this brings us to old business. Is there any old business to bring before the board this evening? Seeing none, is there any new business to bring before the board this evening? Again, seeing none, this brings us to our second public participation. Again, if you're in the audience, you can address the board here at the podium. You can call in at 340-8771, or you can log on at penfield.org. Mr. Lindskog. Welcome, Ed. 40 Willow Pond Way.
40 Willow Pond Way. And the other meeting got canceled due to the school closing.
Oh, got it. Got it.
A couple of weeks ago, I addressed the town board on fire protection over at Willow Pond Way. Was there a hearing with the fire marshal to resolve this issue?
Well, there wasn't a hearing, but there was a meeting. I did meet with the fire marshal and the head of the department. They are working with the new owners of the property. There is nothing that says that, again, by code, that it has to be done by this Friday or next Monday. But Jeff David, our fire marshal, and Heidi Bohl, the department head, are working with Watermark to have those items addressed, the springs in the door, as well as if there needs to be other smoke detectors, even if they're not hooked to the system, but in some rooms, I think you identified, Ed, that they could be equipped with battery operation. They don't necessarily, again, dependent upon usage of the area, the room or storage room, could be just a battery operated. So they are working with Watermark, and they in fact are making regular inspections with them. And the good news is Watermark has been staying in constant contact with them to make sure that they're doing things properly.
Yeah, I think that's a good move. Yep. My concern was the apartments that are occupied that aren't tied in with the system. If something goes off in that apartment and nobody's there, how does anyone in the building know that there's a problem in it? That's the reason I asked for the test.
Sure.
Do you think that that's going to occur?
Well, again, based on when they were built, they don't necessarily have to be tied into the system per the code. They're encouraged, and I know that Jeff David encouraged the maintenance person that having operable smoke detectors and carbon monoxide detectors would be highly recommended. And then again in October, changing batteries similar to daylight savings, spring and fall, checking your batteries and making sure things are working properly. But there's nothing in the code that says they're required to have those hardwired in.
Okay, is there a yearly test required for the system?
Well, there's nothing that we do no different than your personal home that you had on High School Drive. The town doesn't go knocking on the door and say, hey, Ed, do you have operable smoke detectors? Have you checked the batteries? Have you changed the batteries and things like that? Again, it's part of the educational process because those are considered, a single-family unit, if you will, and it's part of the educational process.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, absolutely, Ed. Thank you. Thanks for following up on the safety-related matters at that location. Okay. Anyone else? Jim? Welcome.
Yeah, I just, Jim Mathers.
Yes.
Like to close with a couple of things because I like to keep the emotions out of this. And this impact of the school district, it's been mentioned both sides. Just can't reinforce enough to have someone from the school district here because it's a big ticket item. And you can't speak for the school district, Save Shadow Pines, nor 26,000 voters can speak for the school district. So it's a big ticket item, and just can't reinforce enough that hopefully attend. And well, yeah, relative to the school district also, the combat construction things that are often mentioned, I think they retracted from those statements in their June 2016 email that they didn't want to stand behind any assumptions that have been made to date. They try to deal with people moving into town and people moving out of town and try to deal with it in the dynamic sense. And I'd just like to say that's the only documentation that I have found on the school district's position. So you can't say that the 200 houses are going to do this and destroy the budget for the school district. And another one along the school district lines is, are we saying no children in Penfield, no new families? And back to the town of plan progress. I think one thing in this is it needs to be an equitable plan progress, and we're focused on 200 acres. There's obviously probably 200 acres of other R120 zone land in the town. Are they treated the same as the neighbors to this property? I used to have a pumpkin field behind my house and an orchard. I didn't get that land purchased by the town. So it's just a consideration that we're equitable to all the people in the town. And I think it's fictitious to talk about maintenance cost and future cost till we have at least a tentative plan in mind of where the future of the land will be. Will it be forever wild? Will it be a new Penfield recreation center, town hall? It's artificial to talk about the true cost of this until we have a better picture. I know that's an unknown, and I know that's how you have to go into this. But just so people are aware, the future costs are a big unknown, besides the 30-year bond that we're looking at here of $3.65 million. And I'll leave on one question too. Mentioned open space is good for senior citizens. I think you don't have to respond right now if not, but one I've questioned is in the future, if any good uses for this land come up, like a Penfield school bus garage or senior living facility that should be in a comprehensive plan. I hope you spell out the legal requirements to ever get this land back out of the town hands if something good that everyone could agree on comes along. As I see it, we pretty well eliminated any senior type of housing. I'll let you respond to that. That's my final comments.
Well, all I'll say, I think this board is on record of saying that, you know, if we were to acquire this property, if there was a favorable vote and the town was to acquire this property, the town is not in the business to develop property.
Right.
We're not going to build homes. We're not going to build factories. You know, the town would look at it for what is the best interest of the community overall. And one of the things that this board has said, I know numerous times, is that we would look to form a committee, and we'd look for recommendations that would come back to this, similar to what we did with Rothfuss Park. Rothfuss Park, when that was acquired, the town put together a group. They prepared a master plan, and over the years we've been working towards that that master plan for that particular property. I would see something similar happening for this property.
Yes, I just fear that we're eliminating some very good uses for the land by it being in town's hands as a reality of all this. So
Okay.
that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Jim.
Have a good
Thanks
night.
for coming in. You too. Is there anyone else? Yes, Jeff? I'll just caution both you gentlemen, let's not try to get into a one-upsman here, because I will cut that rather short.
Sure.
Okay.
Okay. What I would say in terms of what was brought up, though, is that I understand, and maybe you can clarify this for me, that there are 6 developments under construction or in the works right now in Penfield. Are you aware of that? Does that sound about right?
We have a number of developers that are developing in the town.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But at least
don't
6.
hold me to the
Yeah.
exact number of
Yeah.
6. It could be 5. It could be 7.
Yeah.
But yes, there are a number of developments going on in the
Okay.
town, both commercial and residential.
Okay. My understanding is that there were 5 or 6 residential, fairly substantial residential developments that are in the works, including apartments. So if there's concern about having more children in town, there are other developments where there will be children coming into town. So this is 1 out of 6 or 7. So if we don't have a development here, we still have other areas where there would be people coming into town. One thing I wanted to mention is that's come up is where there are people in the Webster School District who are concerned about this. And I would say that the open space plan from 2002 had provided open space in the Webster School District. So those people are already benefiting from open space, and their school property taxes would be higher if not for the open space that is there through the open space plan from 2002. So that there is a benefit for everyone. This is, in a sense, a continuation of the open space plan from 2002, and it was the intention of that plan, from my reading, and in discussing it with people who were involved in the creation of it, including you, Tony, I think you were involved in 2002, that this was going to be an ongoing process, that the town was showing a dedication to preserving its agricultural heritage. And there had been intentions for having a continuing funding source for that, but there were other administrations that had other priorities for whatever reasons, and that didn't continue. So this isn't something that's an anomaly, it's something that's a continuation of what we've been doing in Penfield for about 20 years or more. And then in terms of the maintenance costs on this, if it stays as natural open space, that will minimize the expenses. And to compare it to Rothfuss, it's going to be much less than a park like Rothfuss. So if we were talking about, I don't know the figures, but if it was $200,000 a year for Rothfuss, I would expect with natural open space that it would be substantially less than that. And then the last thing is I wanted to share, I was hoping things were going to get zoomed in or something when we were doing the other presentation, but I guess we can put this up. I don't know if anybody's going to be able to see this very well, but this is a map of the area where Shadow Pines is and where the quarry is. We've got the quarry here and Shadow Pines and Shadow Lake, and all of this area is going to be affected by what happens in the future. We have some volunteers that have been helping us at Save Shadow Pines who have come up with renderings to show. Yeah, I'm afraid this isn't going to show, but we'll put this up on our website on SaveShadowPines.org, and I'll try to get it up on the Facebook page for Save Shadow Pines. But this shows what 255 houses looks like distributed across Shadow Pines, and as you can see, it fills up pretty much everything. It fills up the whole area. And then we wanted to give a little taste of what's possible there, looking further into the future. So this is the potential of having, if there were 2 pieces of open space where Shadow Pines is now, and that future of what might happen with a lake. This lake is what is shown or what is described in the permits that Oldcastle has filed with the Department of Economic Conservation, Environmental Conservation. Mm-hmm. They've described a lake that would be similar to this. Well over 100 acres, I would expect, is the whole area where they're mining is about 150, 180 acres, right? So a lake that would be over 100 acres, and then we'd have open space next to it. And the potential there for the community is just astronomical. I mean, I have looked at other areas like in Ontario where they've had a similar thing, and the recreational lake that was formed was of great value, became a tourist attraction, and they were also to do some smart development around the outside of it as well. And that's also a potential. I'm not against all development, but as my wife mentioned, we're a town of planned progress. and thinking well in advance, there may be opportunities for mixed use, or there may be opportunities for a new central section of the town, because there's a lot of land involved if we look at this as an entire district here, including Shadow Lake, the quarry, and Shadow Pines. I mean, the opportunities, and of course we're looking at a decade or 2 decades or maybe 3 decades, but that's what good planning is all about, is to think about these things now so that we're prepared for it. And some of these things may take a long time to prepare for. So I think the opportunity for the town is astronomical. And again, I sincerely thank you for, I know what a long haul this has been, and I appreciate all the time that you've spent on this, and your patience with all of my questions and all of my participation as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to address the board on any item? Okay, seeing none. I do have 2, these were submitted to our website and pushed up on my magic printer right here. This first one is from Michelle, 39 Hallmark Road. We are new residents in the town with a growing family. We will be voting yes to Penfield purchase the course and Clark House. We are looking forward to public green space being a short way from our home. Are there any thoughts about adding a town pool? Thanks. And so certainly there are a lot of thoughts and ideas as it relates to overall use, again, if that's within the town's ownership. This next one is from Chan at Mount Eagle Drive. Should remind the public that Penfield is supported by 4 or 5 school districts. Penfield district supports about 65% of the town. So there are, I believe, at least 4. I've got a former school board member. I think there are 4 different districts, if I recall correctly. Right. So yes. So Penfield makes up approximately 65%. The other 35% is broken. A majority of that broken into the Webster, but also there's Pittsford, a small piece of Pittsford. Okay, seeing no further discussion or public comment and no further business to come before the board, the February 7th, 2018 legislative session of the board stands adjourned at 8:53 p.m. Thank you again for everyone that participated. Thank you to PCTV.
Thank you.